Welcome back to another episode of the Frisco ISD podcast. My name is Jamie Driscoll, the district's communication director, and today I'm excited to sit down with Rayna Biffle, an employee in our transportation department who specializes in helping our special education students get to and from campus safely. We'll talk a bit about how her job differs from a typical bus driver and dive into how specialized training can make all the difference in ensuring the well-being and safety of our students. Be sure to stick around after the episodes for the most recent news and updates from around the district. Hi, Rayna. It's nice to meet you. How are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Good. Fantastic. It's great for you to be here with us today talking about some transportation topics. So let's just jump right into it. Tell us about your background and how you got involved in Frisco ISD's transportation department.
Well, I moved to Texas in 2005 and moved to Little Elm, Frisco border in 2010. I had two small children, and I was a stay-at-home mom. When I went back to work, I went to work for Frisco ISD, not in transportation, but at a school, just so I could still be on my children's schedule and have summers off and holidays off and still be able to take them to school and take them home type of thing. I ended up getting a divorce, and so that is what made me switch to transportation, just because the bus drivers paid a little more than where I was at. When I started learning more about the transportation, how you can be a driver in the different settings, I decided I would be better in special needs. I decided to look into it. I've got my CDL. I was trained in Frisco, which is a nice perk. You don't have to go to the DPS and deal with kind of strangers to get your CDL. They guide you along the way, and you can take your test, right on Frisco ISD premises versus going to the DPS. So that changed into, still I'm a driver, but now I'm a trainer. So I help train people who want to get their CDL. And I just recently become an examiner. So once they are ready to take their CDL test, I can also test them.
Gotcha. So that's a big draw then, to the fact that the CDL process is done here in the district. So for people that are out there considering, maybe do I want to come to Frisco and work in the transportation department? Sounds like what you're saying is that's a really great little perk.
Oh, it is a great perk. It's the district is large enough that we are a third-party testing and training site now. So as a trainer, we are a third party through the DPS. So we the person who is interested in becoming a driver, they have to get their permit, their CDL permit. We have a training specialist. Her name is Jennifer Nermal. Just in case anyone out there, you would contact her. She would set you up with an app on your phone so that you can study the different questions that will be on the exam for the permit test. To take the test for the permit, you do have to go to the DPS. But now that everything is scheduled by appointment, it's much easier to get in there. After you get your permit, you are then assigned a trainer, and training takes about maybe 3.5 weeks, usually between 30 and 40 hours of training, but it's paid training. So once you become with the district, they have you as a monitor on special needs, no matter what.
Okay.
Because that's where you're needed. So you start getting to learn special needs right away and what's required of them. After you get your CDL, you can become a gen ed bus driver. You do not have to stay at SPED, but there are options in different locations of bus barns that we do have. But anyway, you are getting paid as a monitor, and you are getting paid training. So in between your routes, the morning and the afternoon is when you would spend time with the trainer in between. And it usually is about 3 weeks of training. Usually by the 4th week, you're taking your test, and you are doing it on site because we have third-party testers, so you do not have to go to the DPS. And you take your test, which is about 2 hours long. And once you're done with that, you see Jennifer again. She gets you another appointment to the DPS where you go down with your paperwork and get your picture taken, and you are now licensed.
Right. So if anybody out there is listening that's considering, joining the transportation department here in Frisco ISD, you just got a nice little sneak peek and a little bit of an orientation as to what to expect. So we appreciate that, Rayna. And I know that we need bus drivers, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
we bus drivers and monitors.
Right. Are there specific certifications or qualifications that bus drivers specializing in special education transportation should pursue? And how does that contribute to the overall quality of the service?
Well, there are no specific qualifications to be a special education bus driver. The district transportation specifically will provide you with certifications and put you through training and with special needs specialists in the district to help you get through certain situations or learn how to react in certain potential situations.
So there's supports there available once you decide to pursue that route.
Yes.
What does a typical day look like for you all as bus drivers? You know that I think in our mind we kind of have an idea: early mornings, maybe some time during the day, and then of course hitting it again there in the late afternoon. I may be completely wrong about that, but talk a little bit about what does a normal day look like?
For a special needs bus driver, it's similar to what you just said. You could have a route. Starting at 6:30 in the morning and getting back usually around 9:15, 9:20, because high school starts at 9 o'clock. So you would be dropping off your high school students and then heading back to the bus barn. And then you could be starting back up around 2:30 in the afternoon to be able to get to your elementary school and middle school, and then ultimately the high school in the afternoon. So you could be done around 5:30, 5 o'clock in the evening. There is opportunity for more hours if you don't want just the typical, usually 6-hour day. If you want more hours, there are opportunities. Some schools or there's certain disability provides, they call it a midday. So you may have students that get out of school early and you take them to an Aspire job. So if there's more high functioning SPED students, that you may be taking them over to Home Depot,
right,
for a job experience, or IKEA. I had my first Aspire student I took to IKEA. So there are actual drive time during the middle of the day as well.
And then probably, I know there are field trips going on all the time. We have so many schools. We have so many things happening during the day on and off campus. So lots of opportunities to fill the time during the day, I'm certain of.
Yes, most definitely.
Could you share some unique challenges that come with the transportation of special education students, and how do you overcome them? It sounds like you get a good deal of training, so that's helpful. But can you give any more specifics on how do you overcome some of those challenges?
Well, first, your demeanor.
Right.
So, like I said, trying to stay calm, friendly, because I feel like if the student is coming on the bus upset and irritated, and you get irritated back, it doesn't help the situation at all. So trying to stay calm and a kindness about you. Usually, if you have the opportunity, if I have the opportunity, I will talk to the teacher or the parent, depending of where I'm at, if I'm picking them up from home or picking them up from school, and see what they do at school or at the home to help the situation.
Good old-fashioned conversation.
Yes,
right?
Good old-fashioned conversation. Maybe they talk about a certain thing, offer rewards, give them choices. Would you rather this or would you rather this? Instead of just saying, no, sit down, you need to do this. So, I get a lot of my feedback from the parent source or the teachers or the paraprofessionals there.
So not only are you bus drivers, you're also customer service representatives.
We are.
Yeah.
We are.
Yeah.
So we are not picking up, special needs is not picking up on the corner, and having, 10, 15 kids load the bus and there's no parent in sight. So we're door-to-door service, and we see the parents every morning or every afternoon, and at the schools the teachers are there helping load the children onto the bus. And if there is any kind of change in their day, or if they're coming onto the bus with a bit of a mood, the teachers are there to explain what has happened, and yeah,
Good.
always ask to see what can help.
Good. Communication on all sides helps everything. So you mentioned earlier that sometimes when you pick up a student at a campus, the teacher may give you a heads up and say, hey, maybe give some special attention to Jamie today. But have you been given training to reinforce positive behavior? Has there been training from the district level that allows you to kind of, once you get that information, now what do you do with it?
Right. Yes, we've had several safety meetings. We have 4 or 5 safety meetings a year, and I think pretty much most of them last year. We had safety training specialists or special needs specialists that are in the district, and they travel to all the schools. They're not specific to one school. So they get to know a lot of the kids and a lot of the different attitude and reactions. So the things that they have given us, ways to talk to them, give them choices, how to speak with them, again, remain positive and kind and empathetic. Mostly, you just don't want to go down to their level because that'll make it worse at the time. And most of the time that does help. We've also, with that CPI course I mentioned earlier, there are some defensive strategies in case they are being aggressive, but that's just, it's not as common. It's, it's mostly maybe just an attitude, and, you need to put your seatbelt on now, they may not want to, just kind of calming the situation.
De-escalation
techniques. And they've given us some techniques to help keep them
So it sounds like you not obviously full training as a special education classroom teacher, but certainly some attributes of that training have been extended to the transportation department who work with special education students. That's really great. And it sounds like even some of those same folks that work with the classroom teachers are the ones that have come out to work with you. So that's really great to hear. In what ways do you build trust with students and their families to create a comfortable and secure transportation environment? You mentioned earlier you had conversations with parents. Obviously, that goes a long way.
Oh, huge. Yeah, I would just say communication from the get-go. Some parents don't come out to the bus. Some parents, some of the older kids who are higher functioning and can pretty much do a lot of the stuff on their own. The parent may just stand in the doorway and give a wave. But even that wave back, it gives them, I think, a little security of like, oh, okay, I've got a friendly driver for my child.
So I just got chill bumps when you said that. That just kind of hit me in the chest a little bit. So, yeah, that's very sweet.
Yes, but when they do come out to the bus, start a rapport. Hey, my name is Rayna. My monitor's name is Tanya. We're here. And if the child, they may give us information right away if there is something that their child usually always does. If they don't, and we notice something a week down the road, when the next time that parent's out the next morning, just say, hey, this happened on the bus. Is there anything that we can do to make it better? Anything we can say? And they a lot of times will say, oh yeah, they really love to talk about their stuffed animal or their video game or whatever, talk about that. That'll take their mind off of, whatever they're feeling at the moment.
So I know we have some parents out there right now that perhaps don't have a student going, using a special ed bus here on Frisco ISD. Maybe they haven't started school yet. Maybe they're at another campus and they're about to move on to the next level, and that campus is going to require some busing. So that parent out there that hasn't had this experience yet, what advice do you have for them to help their child, how to prepare them to have a positive experience with their transportation to and from school?
First, I would say patience is the first thing. Only just because SPED is required to the SPED Transportation Department. We are required to transport the special needs student. So just even getting into that process and getting it going takes a little bit of time. But yeah, I can understand putting your nonverbal, child who may be in a wheelchair or anything, putting them on a bus and they can't tell you what has gone on that bus. So I totally understand. But for, I guess, peace of mind, there has not been any incidents. The drivers and the monitors are all there for the right reasons. They all have compassion. They all want to treat the kids like their own, and generally care about them. You just try to treat them, with respect and kind of have fun and, play some music for them or have conversations with them if they can speak, or high five them. And I don't know, it should just be a positive experience. And I feel like my coworkers we're all in the same boat.
As much fun as possible. Yep. Empathy. You mentioned that earlier. That's a big one. That's a big word, I think, in all of this conversation is empathy. Looking ahead, what do you see as far as future trends in public education, transportation, and how do you plan to adapt and continue to provide excellent service? I know, I've heard about different things going on, some pilot programs here and there. It just sounds like the transportation is evolving and is getting a lot of different technical approaches. So what's out there on the future?
Oh my goodness. They were working on this last school year, so it may be implemented near the end of this school year or starting next year, where we'll be carrying a little tablet on the buses with us. We'll have the directions on that tablet. Right now we're using paper, kind of old school.
Yeah.
The name tags from the actual school for your child will be implemented onto the bus as well. So when the child comes on the bus, whether it's from home or from the school, we're taking them home or taking them to school, we'll be using their name tag and putting it onto or scanning it with the tablet. So instantly you know that the child is on the right bus. If they are being put on a wrong bus or gen ed student is getting on the wrong bus, it'll automatically notify that they are not supposed to be on that bus, and it lets them know what bus they're supposed to be on. Special needs wouldn't have this problem so much just because it is very controlled and there are not a lot of children on a bus at a single time. So, like my typical middle school I take home in the afternoon is probably 5 children. We're not loaded up. There's only 1 child per seat versus gen ed being, double or triple to a seat. So it would probably be more beneficial to the actual gen ed.
So
that's kind of nice to
safety.
hear.
I mean, it sounds like obviously a lot of moving parts. It's a huge jigsaw puzzle. You have triple routing between the elementary, the middle, and the high school. You have students all over the Frisco area. It is a jigsaw puzzle. And so it sounds like this is some technology that's going to provide a real safety net of sorts to make sure that all those pieces are moving and operating properly, and that we catch any that perhaps are not at that moment. And I know at the beginning of the year, obviously, that's when things can be a little trickier, right? When everything's just getting going and nobody knows their routine quite yet. So we are learning and we are evolving and we are purchasing new technology to make sure that our students are safe. That's really good information to have. That is impressive. We've really appreciated the time you've taken today. Stick around for news and updates from around the district.
Here's a look at news from around the district. Frisco ISD is giving parents, staff, and the community a chance to have their say in the district's future. Be on the lookout for an email coming soon with details to take our community survey, which will be available from October 9th to October 20th. Various FISD middle and high school ensembles have received the 2023 Mark of Excellence in Citation